Ethan had never imagined that a routine space journey would end like this. He had been traveling in his small spacecraft, testing a new navigation system, when a sudden surge of energy threw him off course. In a blink, the stars shifted. The colors of space swirled around him, and he found himself approaching a planet unlike any he had ever seen. Its surface sparkled with hues of blue and green, and immense cities floated above the clouds as if defying gravity. He struggled with the controls, trying to stabilize the ship. "Okay, Ethan," he muttered to himself. "Let's hope this landing isn't too explosive." His hands shook, not from fear but from the thrill of discovery. The spacecraft touched down on a platform that seemed perfectly smooth, almost glowing as if the planet itself welcomed him. As he stepped out, the air felt different, lighter, crisp, and filled with a scent that reminded him vaguely of fresh rain. Before him stretched a landscape that seemed alive. Strange tall plants swayed almost like they were dancing, and crystalline structures reflected sunlight in dazzling patterns. But what drew his attention the most was the palace in the distance, a magnificent building that floated slightly above the ground, shimmering with golden lights and strange symbols that Ethan couldn't understand. "Wow," he whispered. This is amazing." Ethan's awe was interrupted by a soft hum, and suddenly, a platform slid open in front of the palace entrance. From it emerged a group of beings. They were tall, elegant, and unlike anything Ethan had seen in textbooks or movies. Their skin had a slight metallic sheen, their eyes glowed softly, and their movements were precise, almost like a carefully choreographed dance. One of them stepped forward. Her presence was commanding, yet there was warmth in her gaze. She had a crown of light hovering above her head, which Ethan instinctively recognized as a symbol of royalty. Behind her, a younger female figure, clearly the princess, observed him curiously. The taller figure spoke first, her voice melodic and measured. "That human?" she asked, looking at the princess. The princess's eyes sparkled as she replied without hesitation, "Yes, he's the one I chose." Ethan froze. His mind raced. She chose me? But why? I'm just a human. I don't belong here." The taller figure, presumably the queen, raised an eyebrow. She stepped closer, her eyes scanning Ethan as if trying to read his thoughts. "This is unexpected," she said softly. Yet there was an edge of caution in her tone. "Humans are rare visitors, and no human has ever entered our palace willingly. Tell me, human, why have you come here?" Ethan swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. I didn't mean to come here," he admitted. "I was testing my spacecraft's navigation system and I got lost. I promise I mean no harm." The queen studied him for a long moment. Ethan felt the weight of her gaze. Then, surprisingly, she smiled faintly. "Lost, you say? Perhaps fate has guided you to us." The princess stepped forward, her expression earnest. "Mother, please. He is not just lost. There is something about him. Something kind and clever. I feel he can see the world differently. He can help us, in ways we cannot yet imagine." Ethan's cheeks turned red. I don't know about all that. I'm just a human, really. I can fix machines, figure things out sometimes." He trailed off, realizing he sounded even more ordinary than he felt. The princess shook her head gently. "That is exactly what makes you extraordinary. You see the world in ways we cannot. Your curiosity, your kindness. It is rare here." The queen looked from the princess to Ethan and back again. She sighed, a mixture of disbelief and intrigue in her expression. "Very well," she said. "You may stay for now. But know this, the palace is no ordinary place, human. You will have rules and you will follow them. Our world is not like yours and you must learn quickly." Ethan nodded eagerly. "I understand. I'll do my best." A servant, a smaller alien with a shimmering green coat and gentle eyes, approached Ethan and guided him through the palace gates. The interior was breathtaking. Crystal walls reflected soft light, and floating pathways curved gracefully above a lush garden filled with plants that glowed faintly. Ethan had never seen anything so beautiful. As they walked, Ethan noticed the aliens around him. Some observed him with curiosity, others with polite detachment. But he noticed something unusual. Even those who seemed indifferent couldn't hide a spark of wonder when they looked at him. Perhaps humans were truly rare. The servant led him to a room that would serve as his quarters. It was elegantly furnished but simple, with a window that gave a panoramic view of the palace gardens and the floating cities beyond. Ethan felt both nervous and excited. He sat on the edge of the bed, letting the reality sink in. He thought of Earth, of the ordinary life he had left behind, of the quiet nights staring at the stars, dreaming of adventure. He realized that now, here, he was living that dream, not as an observer but as a participant. Later, Princess Liara visited him. She wore a flowing gown that shimmered like the night sky. She smiled warmly. "Welcome to our world, Ethan," she said softly. "I know this must all feel strange, but I want you to know, you are not alone. I chose you for a reason, and together we can learn from each other." Ethan was speechless. Her words were simple, yet they carried a weight he could feel in his chest. "Thank you," he said finally. I don't know what to say." "I never imagined anyone would choose me." Liara laughed lightly, the sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You do not need to say anything. Just be yourself. That is all that matters." For the first time since he arrived, Ethan felt a sense of belonging. He knew the journey ahead would be challenging, learning alien customs, adapting to their technology, earning the trust of the Queen and the people. But he also felt hope. He was ready to explore, to understand, and maybe to change the world in ways he could not yet imagine. As night fell over the floating city, Ethan gazed out of his window. The stars above shone brighter than he had ever seen, and the palace lights twinkled like distant galaxies. He whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning." And somewhere deep in the palace, the Queen watched him, still unsure but quietly intrigued. The princess, however, was certain. She had chosen wisely, and the human story was only just beginning. The morning sun glimmered through the crystal windows of the palace, casting rainbows across Ethan's room. For a human who had spent most of his life among metal and machines, this was like stepping into a dream. Today, however, the palace held more than beauty. It held lessons that could shape his entire stay. Princess Liara appeared at the door, smiling. "Good morning, Ethan," she said. Her voice had a warmth that made the palace feel less intimidating. "Are you ready for your first lesson?" Ethan blinked. "Lesson?" he asked. "I thought I was just visiting." Liara chuckled. "Visiting? No, you are staying here. If you are to be here, you must understand our ways, our language, our manners, our customs. It will not be easy, but I will help you." Ethan nodded. "Okay, I'm ready." They began their walk through the palace gardens. Ethan marveled at the flora. Plants moved subtly as he approached, as if greeting him. Flowers glowed faintly and trees bent gracefully, casting playful shadows on the ground. Liara explained each species' significance. Some were for decoration. Others had practical uses like purifying the air or storing energy for the palace. "You will notice," Liara said, "that our society values thoughtfulness, patience, and creativity. Everything here is designed to support harmony. Humans. You see the world differently, but that difference can help us grow." Ethan listened intently. "I never thought of it that way. Back home, we often rush, fix problems quickly, and move on. Here, everything feels intentional." Liara smiled. "That is why I chose you. You are human, yes, but you also notice things that others might overlook. That perspective, it is rare here." They approached a courtyard filled with floating orbs of light. Some orbs displayed images, others emitted sounds, and a few even contained small holographic simulations. Liara touched one, and a tiny scene of a marketplace appeared. Aliens moved among stalls, exchanging goods and greetings. "This is how we learn," Liara explained. "Through observation, interaction, and understanding. You will practice this too." Ethan leaned closer, fascinated. "It's like a classroom, but alive." "Exactly," Liara said. "And you, Ethan, will be both student and teacher. I want you to share your human ways with us." Over the next several hours, Ethan learned many things. He learned to bow respectfully in the Queen's presence, to greet others in their language, and to use the floating walkways that connected parts of the palace. At first he stumbled, bumping into walls or missing steps, but he laughed at himself and tried again. Liara found his determination amusing and encouraging. "You have patience," she said. "Not everyone here does. Many would give up if they stumbled." Ethan shrugged. "I guess I'm used to trying over and over. Back home, machines often break and you have to fix them or they stop working." "That is a valuable trait," Liara said thoughtfully. "We sometimes forget that failure is a step to learning. Humans remind us of that." By midday, Ethan was exhausted but exhilarated. The palace was not just a place of beauty, It was a place of knowledge, culture, and subtle wisdom. As they rested by a small water feature, Liara asked, "Tell me about your world, Ethan. What do humans value?" Ethan leaned back, watching the water ripple and reflect the glowing plants. "We value a lot of things. Family, friend." Days in the palace passed quickly. Ethan had begun to feel more comfortable with the floating walkways, the glowing plants, and the soft hum of energy that filled every corner. He had learned to bow gracefully, speak a few words of the alien language, and understand many subtle customs. But he knew he had much more to learn. Princess Liara seemed pleased with his progress. Every morning she guided him through lessons and small adventures, teaching him not only the ways of her world, but also helping him see how human creativity could fit into their traditions. But the peaceful rhythm of learning was soon to change. One morning the palace was buzzing with excitement. Couriers delivered glowing messages, and servants hurried across the halls. Ethan, curious as always, asked Liara what was happening. "An interstellar council is arriving," Liara explained. "They are representatives from nearby kingdoms. They come to meet potential candidates for the princess, though of course they do not know about you yet." Ethan blinked. "Candidates? For you?" Liara nodded. "Yes, they evaluate, advise, and ensure that the future ruler chooses wisely. This council will observe everyone's abilities, knowledge, and character. They expect alien candidates. Well, you are an unusual choice." Ethan felt a nervous flutter. I can't compete with them. They've trained their whole lives for this." Liara smiled reassuringly. "You don't have to compete like them. Humans have qualities they lack: creativity, curiosity, and the ability to think differently. That is what makes you unique." When the council arrived, the palace was transformed into a spectacle of color and light. Floating banners shimmered with symbols, and the courtyard was filled with dignitaries in elaborate robes. Each alien candidate demonstrated their skills: intelligence, diplomacy, and mastery of advanced technologies. Ethan watched quietly, feeling small and out of place. The council president, a tall alien with silver feathers along his arms, stepped forward. His voice rang out clear and commanding. "Princess Liara will observe all candidates before making her choice. Let us begin with tests of logic and creativity." Ethan's stomach tightened. Logic tests? Creativity? Could he really show them what humans could do? Liara, sensing his anxiety, whispered, "Remember, Ethan, you do not need to be like them. You need to be yourself." The first test involved a complex machine that controlled a miniature planetary simulation. Alien candidates adjusted its settings, manipulated energy fields, and demonstrated flawless technical skill. Ethan stepped forward nervously, unsure if he could even understand the device. He took a deep breath and studied the problem differently. Instead of trying to follow their exact procedures, he approached the machine as he would back on Earth, observing the patterns, identifying inefficiencies, and trying simple adjustments first. Slowly, he began to make small improvements. The machine responded. It began to operate smoothly, achieving outcomes that even some of the alien candidates had missed. A murmur ran through the council. Ethan felt his heart race. He was succeeding. Liara's eyes shone with pride. "See? You do have something special." The next test was a problem-solving scenario involving diplomacy. Candidates were asked to mediate a dispute between two alien communities in a simulation. Most approached it with strict rules, using logic and hierarchy. Ethan, however, remembered how humans often solve conflicts by listening, understanding emotions, and finding common ground. He spoke calmly, asking questions, suggesting compromises, and encouraging empathy between the simulated parties. By the end, both sides were satisfied, and the simulation ended with an outcome no one had expected: a peaceful, creative resolution that combined fairness with innovation. The council was silent, then murmurs of approval spread. Ethan realized that his human perspective was not a weakness. It was an advantage. Afterward, candidates were asked to present a cultural contribution. Some played complex musical instruments, others demonstrated advanced holographic designs. Ethan hesitated. What could a human show that was different from their art and technology? Then he remembered Earth, stories humans told, small acts of kindness, ways of connecting with each other. Using the holographic display, he showed simple examples of human ingenuity, ways to grow food efficiently, small inventions that helped communities, and even simple tools for communication and learning. The council watched, fascinated. These were not the grand displays they were used to, but there was something honest and clever in his work. Liara clapped quietly, thrilled. The council president stepped forward again. This human is remarkable. He does not follow the same patterns as our candidates. Yet his solutions are effective, his creativity is undeniable, and his character is apparent. He may be unusual, but he brings value that cannot be ignored. Ethan felt a mix of relief and pride. He had been scared, unsure if he belonged, but now he saw that being himself was enough. Later, the Queen joined him in the gardens. She had observed the tests quietly. "You performed well," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was an unmistakable hint of approval. "I admit I doubted humans, but you have shown qualities that even our most advanced beings struggle to demonstrate." Ethan hesitated. "I just tried to be myself." "That is precisely why you succeeded," the Queen said. "Sometimes the simplest approach, honest observation, empathy, and creativity, is the most effective. You may not be like us, but you are extraordinary in your own way." Liara came to his side and took his hand. "Mother," she said softly, "I told you. I chose him for a reason. He is not perfect, but his heart, his perspective, is rare and valuable. He will help us grow, and he will help me make choices that matter." The Queen studied them both for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. You may stay. But understand this, human, this is only the beginning. There will be challenges, tests, and moments where you must decide what is right, not just what is easy." Ethan looked at the floating city beyond the gardens. He felt a surge of determination. "I understand. I'll do my best." Liara smiled and squeezed his hand. "That is all I ask. Remember, Ethan, you are not alone. You have your own strengths, and together we can face anything." As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and gold, Ethan walked with Liara along the floating pathways. For the first time, he felt that he was not just a visitor in a strange world. He was part of it. He was learning, contributing, and slowly proving that being human was something extraordinary. In the quiet of the palace, the Queen observed him once more. She was still cautious, still curious, but she could not deny what she had seen. Ethan's perspective, his honesty, and his creativity were undeniable. Perhaps this human was more than an outsider. Perhaps he was exactly what the kingdom needed. And Princess Liara? She had never been more certain of anything in her life. She had chosen wisely. Ethan woke to the soft hum of the palace's morning energy flow. Sunlight poured through the crystal walls, painting soft streaks of gold across his room. Since the arrival of the Interstellar Council, life at the palace had changed. Ethan was no longer only a guest. He was now someone the royal family looked to for ideas and fresh thinking. Princess Liara visited him early that morning. She was wearing a silvery robe that shimmered as she moved. "Good morning, Ethan," she said warmly. "Today will be different. Today you will see our world as very few outsiders ever have." Ethan sat up, curious. "What's happening?" "The Queen has asked you to attend a high council meeting," Liara explained. "There is a situation in one of our neighboring systems. Supplies are delayed, trade routes are disrupted, and communities are struggling. It is not a war or conflict," she quickly added, "but a very big problem in coordination and planning. We want you to observe, and if you can, suggest a solution." Ethan's heart thumped. "Me in a council meeting?" Liara nodded. "You've already shown them your creativity. Now it's time to show them your character." The council chamber was a vast circular hall with a glowing dome overhead. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps, trade routes, and graphs of energy supplies. Representatives from several planets stood around a long table of light, each with their own symbols and colors. Queen Serenia sat at the head of the table. She greeted Ethan with a small nod, formal but not unfriendly. "Welcome, human. Today we will discuss the problem facing our allies. Listen carefully and speak only when you have something to offer. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Ethan said respectfully. The council began. A representative from a nearby system spoke first, explaining that their energy stations were overloaded, delaying shipments of essential goods. Another representative complained that their communication network was outdated and could not handle the volume of messages needed to organize the trade. Charts and numbers flickered across the holograms. Ethan listened intently, taking mental notes. The aliens debated politely but firmly, offering complex technical plans, but none of their ideas seemed to solve the problem fully. Liara glanced at Ethan, silently encouraging him. Finally, the Queen asked, "Does anyone have an alternative perspective?" Her eyes landed on Ethan. "Perhaps our visitor can see something we cannot." Ethan hesitated, then stepped forward. "If I may," he said carefully, "it sounds like everyone is trying to fix separate parts of the problem, energy, trade, and communication. But no one is looking at the whole picture. On Earth, when we face something like this, we first simplify." The floating cities glimmered like jewels under the pale green sky. By now, Ethan's presence in the palace had become almost normal. Servants greeted him with smiles. Advisors approached him with questions. Even the Queen's gaze had softened, though her dignity never faded. Princess Liara walked beside Ethan along a wide balcony lined with glowing plants. Below them, shimmering airships moved between the floating towers like slow, graceful fish in a vast ocean. "You have done more than you think," Liara said softly. "The pilot trade route is now running smoothly. Energy stations are stable. Communication lines are clear. The Council is already planning to expand your system to other regions." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, a little shy. "I just shared what I knew from Earth. You and your people did the real work." Liara smiled. "That humility is exactly why they listened to you." Over the next weeks, Ethan worked closely with alien engineers, advisors, and community leaders. He explained how humans approached complex problems step by step. In return, they showed him technologies far beyond anything Earth had developed. Ethan learned how their floating cities used energy stored in shimmering crystals. He learned how they shaped gravity itself to move ships and build towers. But even with all their advancements, the aliens began to copy some of Ethan's simplest methods: clear communication, small tests, and steady improvements. One afternoon, Ethan was invited to address a gathering of young students in the palace's learning hall. The hall was shaped like a giant shell, lined with holographic windows showing stars, oceans, and forests. He spoke slowly, using simple words. "On my planet, we do not have cities that float in the sky. We do not have crystals that store energy for centuries. But we have ideas. We believe in trying, learning, and trying again. Even a small idea can grow into something powerful." The students listened with wide, glowing eyes. Some asked questions about Earth, about its people and its skies. Ethan told them about rainstorms, oceans, forests, and the sound of wind through trees. For the first time, many of them imagined a world so different from their own. When he finished, the students touched their palms together, a sign of respect. Liara watched from the back of the hall, proud and quiet. Later, in the Queen's private chamber, Serenia called for Ethan. The chamber was calm and filled with the scent of starflowers. "Human," she began, "I have observed you closely. At first I doubted you. Now I see how my daughter's choice has changed us." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only want to help." The Queen tilted her head, studying him. "Do you understand what it means for a princess to choose someone? It is not only about companionship. It is about partnership, leadership, and influence on our future. You are no longer only a guest here. You are a part of something much larger." Ethan took a deep breath. "I know I'm not from here, but I've learned so much, and I care about this world. I'll do my best to live up to her trust and yours." For a moment, the Queen's expression softened completely. "Then perhaps you truly are one of us," she said quietly. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan became a living bridge between two cultures. He organized small exchanges where alien scientists spoke to Earth researchers through experimental communication links. He encouraged both sides to share knowledge: renewable energy designs from Earth, crystal-based power systems from the aliens, and creative problem-solving from humans. Every evening, he and Liara walked through the gardens planning new projects. They spoke about education, travel, and even art. Liara wanted her people to understand Earth's creativity: paintings, music, and stories. Ethan wanted humans to see how a society could live in harmony with nature and technology. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Liara said, "Do you realize what you are doing? You are not just helping us. You are connecting worlds that were once strangers." Ethan gazed at the moons. Maybe this was meant to happen. Maybe this is why I ended up here by accident. Liara's eyes sparkled. "I don't believe it was an accident. The universe has many paths, but sometimes two paths meet for a reason." Word of Ethan's efforts spread beyond the palace. Merchants, teachers, and scientists began speaking about the human who taught them to think differently. Some were skeptical at first, but changed their minds when they saw the results. People began to say, if the princess trusts him, perhaps we should too. At a public ceremony, Liara introduced Ethan not as a visitor, but as an advisor and partner. This is Ethan of Earth, she announced. He is proof that wisdom can come from anywhere, that hearts from different worlds can work as one. The crowd responded with a shimmering wave of light. Thousands of small crystals raised to the sky in silent greeting. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had never imagined such a welcome. After the ceremony, Ethan walked quietly in the gardens with Liara. I don't know how to thank you, he said. Back home, I was just another person. Here I feel like I matter, Liara smiled softly. You always mattered, Ethan. Sometimes we just need a new place to see our true value. He looked at her, humbled. I only hope I'm worthy of the trust you've given me. You already are, she said simply. The queen joined them briefly, her robes flowing like starlight. Human, she said, your influence has grown quickly. You have earned the trust of many. But know this, influence is not power. It is responsibility. Use it with care, Ethan nodded. I understand, Your Majesty. I don't want power. I just want to help. The queen gave a small approving nod. Good. Then you are learning. In the weeks that followed, Ethan helped set up a cultural exchange program. Small groups of aliens would learn Earth languages, while human volunteers would study alien customs. He encouraged the sharing of music, stories, and ideas. One day, Liara brought him a small silver device. This is for you, she said. It holds songs, images, and teachings from our people. Take it with you if you ever return to Earth. Let your world know us as we know you. Ethan held the device carefully. Thank you. I'll keep it safe. As the sun set one evening, casting orange and pink streaks across the sky, Ethan and Liara stood on the highest balcony. Airships drifted below and the twin moons glowed on the horizon. You've changed us, Ethan, Liara said. Even my mother sees it now. We are not just a kingdom anymore. We are part of something bigger, two worlds learning together. Ethan smiled. You've changed me too. I didn't know I had anything special to offer. Now I see that even small ideas, even small acts can build bridges. Liara's eyes softened. That is why I chose you. Not for power, not for appearance, but for your heart. You are showing my people that leadership begins with kindness. They stood in silence, watching the stars. The palace glowed softly behind them, alive with energy and hope. In her private chamber later that night, Queen Serenia looked at a holographic image of her daughter and the humans standing side by side. She thought of her own doubts, her initial questions, and her cautious observations. She realized that the human had brought something her people had long forgotten, an openness to learn, a willingness to try, and the courage to be humble. She whispered to herself, perhaps my daughter has chosen not only wisely, but also bravely. As Ethan prepared for sleep, he held the silver device Liara had given him. It glowed faintly, playing a soft tune from her world. He felt both at home and far away, both human and something more. He thought about Earth, its oceans, skies, and people, and about this new world of floating cities and shimmering gardens. He realized that his journey was not only about learning or teaching, it was about connection. With that thought, he drifted into sleep, dreaming of two worlds meeting in harmony, of stars connecting like threads of light, and of a future where being human meant being a bridge, not a barrier. Morning light streamed through the tall crystal windows of the palace. The soft hum of energy, the floating gardens, and the slow drift of airships below all seemed different today. Something important was about to happen. Ethan stood at the balcony looking at the twin moons fading into the brightening sky. He took a deep breath. This was the day of the Unity ceremony. Princess Liara walked into the room wearing a flowing robe of deep blue and silver. Her hair was decorated with small shining stones that looked like pieces of stars. Are you ready? She asked softly. Ethan smiled nervously. As ready as I can be. I still don't completely understand what's about to happen. Liara stepped closer. It is not just a ceremony. It is a promise. Today my people will welcome you not as a visitor but as a partner. It is a way of saying you belong. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and humility. I never imagined this when I first arrived. Back then I was just lost. Now I feel like I've found a home. Liara nodded, and our world feels the same. You've helped us see ourselves with new eyes. The palace courtyard was transformed into a living sea of colors. Floating banners shimmered with symbols of both worlds. Earth's blue and green mixed with the kingdom's glowing silver and gold. A path of light stretched from the palace gates to a platform at the center, surrounded by pools of crystal water that reflected the sky. Thousands of citizens gathered, their eyes bright with curiosity and hope. Some held small glowing stones to show support. Others whispered softly about the human who had changed their lives. The queen appeared at the far end of the courtyard, her robe trailing like flowing light. She walked slowly to the platform, followed by Council Me.